performance of Metamorphsis.
Metamorphosis means change. In this play, you will witness multiple variations of change.
We would like to thank Mr. Hagerstrand and the Northgate Drama for letting us use the Little Theater.
We'd also like to thank all the parents who helped move prop sets and costumes here. We'd also like to thank Mr. Deal for helping the stagecraft every day at school.
At the end of the play, please exit the auditorium. You may meet your children outside.
Thank you and enjoy the show.
Bodies, I have in mind how they can change to assume new shapes. I ask the help of the gods to know the trick. Change me, and let me glimpse the secret and speak, better than I know how, of the world's birthing and the creation of all things from the first to the very latest.
Before there was water and dry land, or even heaven and earth, nature was all the same, what we call chaos. With neither sun to shed its light, nor moon to wax and wane, nor earth hung in its atmosphere of air. If there was ocean, there was no discernible shoreline, no way to walk on one, no swim or sail on the other. There was neither reason nor order, until at last a god sparked, glowed, then shone like a beam of light to define the earth and the heavens, and separate water from hard ground.
Once these distinctions were made and matter began to behave, the sky displayed its array of stars and their constellations, a twinkling template of order. The sea upon which they shone quickened with fish, meadows with game, and the air with twittering birds, each order of creatures settling into itself.
Paradise it would seem, except one thing was lacking, words.
And so, man was born. He was born so he might talk.
Some say the gods perfected the world by creating the divine race of humans.
Others maintain we came from the natural order of things.
But one way or another, people came, erect, standing tall, with their faces set not to gaze down at the dirt beneath their feet, but upward, toward the sky, in pride, or perhaps nostalgia.
There was once a king named Ceres, who had as his queen Alcyone, daughter of Aeolus, master of winds. These two adored each other and lived in a monotony of happiness. But nothing in this world is safe. It isn't true. It is. One day, Alcyone had heard that Ceres had ordered his ship to be made ready for sea voyage to visit a far-off oracle.
How can you leave me alone? I'll pine in your absence. Over land, it's a long and arduous trip, but I'd still prefer it to a voyage by sea, which I fear from my father's winds are wild and savage. You would think, as his son-in-law, would get some special treatment. Not so. Once they escaped my father's cave. Those winds are wild and beyond anyone's control. As a girl, I watched them come home, exhausted and spent, and I learned to fear them then. Now I am petrified, surely.
She said,
If you die, my life is over, and I shall be cursed with every reluctant breath I draw.
My love, I hate to choose between my journey and you, but how can I live this way? Stranded on shore, afraid, domesticated, diminished, a kind of lapdog.
Take me with you at least, and we'll meet the storms together, which I feared much less since we left a widow.
In 2 months' time, I'll be back.
No, I fear you won't. I know you won't.
In 2 months' time, for that short time, you can be brave and endure the trial of waiting.
She saw she could no longer hold out the face of resolve. She allowed herself to be soothed and consented by his going. There were no more details left to be checked, no last-minute changes left to be made, and the men, seated on their benches, were ready to row and go. He boarded the ship and gave the sign, and he turned away with her. He waved at her while the black ribbon of water widened between the ship and shore. She waved at him until he was no longer distinguishable, but she could still see the ship. She watched as it receded to a smaller and smaller object, and then the whole hull was gone, only the sails remained. And then they too disappeared. She gazed still at the empty and desolate gloom, and then went to her empty bedroom to lie on the huge embanked bed and give herself over to weeping.
My vessel cleared the harbor and caught the freshening wind, which turned the rigging to singing and slapping against the spars. I ordered the rowers to ship their oars and the sailors to set the yards and make sail. our ship ran before the wind. All that day, we made satisfactory progress, and we've reached a point of no return. There is as much blue water astern as remained ahead.
But as the sun was sinking in the west, the water, everywhere blue until now, began to be flecked with white-capped waves sailors dislike. The weather became worse with every movement, for the winds were on the loose.
Reef the sails! Build the water! Secure the spars!
But Poseidon and his henchmen had arrived, dressed with an enormous green catastrophe.
He thinks, in an oddly abstracted waves, that waves are lions, crazed with hunter's wounds, or that the ship is a besieged town, attacked by a horde of mad men. One would think that the heavens were crazed with lust, to join the turbulent sea, which returned their exhaust passion, and tried to rise up and embrace the air.
The men have lost their belief in their captain, their courage, their nautical skill, and even their will to live as they wait for the end. One weeps and groans aloud. Another, no braver, is silent, dumbstruck. One calls on the gods for mercy.
Help us, Poseidon!
Another curses his fate. Damn you, Poseidon! And one says one word.
Alcyone!
Again and again.
Alcyone, my treasure! Alcyone!
And this is the end of the world.
O gods, hear my modest prayer, that my body may wash ashore at her feet, where she may with gentle hands prepare it to be buried.
Nothing left but the slow parade led by Hermes to the underworld. 1, 2, 3, 4, 15, 16, 17, 18, 98, 99, 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 15, 16, 17, 18, 98, 99, 100.
Look at her, Iris. She's moved her vigil down to the shore, and now she's sleeping there.
98, 99, 100.
Seeks, come home. I'm near now. I'm sleeping on the shore. It's not so far until you see me. This can't go on forever. Go to the house to sleep and ask him to read a nighttime visitation. A dream that might show Alcyone the sorry truth.
Far off in the remotest Campanias, beyond where the Sumerians live, in their gloomy caves is a deeper and even darker grotto, the home of sleep. In this place, the sun never can, even at midday, penetrate with the faintest beams of light. In the cloudy twilight, no rooster dares disturb the silence with his rude crowing. No dog or nervous goose gives voice to the passing stranger. Not even branches sigh in the occasional passing breezes. But an almost total silence fills the air. At the heart of an almost painted stillness, in a huge darkened chamber, the god himself relaxes, drifting in languor. Around him, fragments of ill-assorted dreams hover over the floor in grand confusion, like leaves trees have let go to float to their gorgeous billows below.
Hello?
Into this strange and breathless place, Iris the rainbow intrudes.
Oh, somnolent one, wake up.
What?
Mildest of all gods, soother of souls, and healer of wearied and pain-racked bodies and minds.
Iris, let me rest a moment. Iris, what do you want?
Devise, if you can, some form to resemble King Ceres, and send it down in a dream to his wife, Queen Alcyone. Let her know the news of the wreck of the ship and the death of the husband she loves so well. Sleep, do this for us, can you? Farewell.
Morpheus! Morpheus! Come and change to that of King Ceres. Go to his wife and tell her. Tell her that he is dead. Good, that's very good. Now go.
Sir, you seem like a seafaring man. Can you tell me, have you seen my husband Cease? home? His ship is strong and unmistakable. When is he coming home? Sir?
Do you not know me? Has Declan done me so?
No.
Look at me. I charge you, look at me.
No, I won't.
Look at me, and know your husband's ghost. For your prayers have done no good. For I am gone, beyond all help or hope.
Go away.
I am not some bearer of tales, but the man to whom it happened. Look at me, my little bird.
I knew it had happened, and I begged you not to go. I knew the day you had sailed, I had lost you forever. The ship, my hopes, and my life were smaller all at the same time. You should have allowed me to go, little bird. This is no good. That I should be living, you should be elsewhere, nowhere. I'm drowning now in the air, but the currents are just as cold and cruel.
Get up from your bed and put on your mourning clothes.
Seeks, where are you going? Come back! Lucina, give me your lantern! Seeks, come back! Where are you? Come back! He was just here!
All that night, she searched along the shore for her drowned, dreamed husband. But she found nothing, not even footprints, only wave after wave of black water. When morning came, she narrowed her eyes to the horizon. She remembered how she looked upon that other day. She remembered his last kiss. We had turned to the shore, could not bear it and turned again to her.
Oh, it is out there! Alas, poor sailor, for your weapon!
Gods are not altogether unkind. Some prayers are answered.
Seeks, is this how you return to me?
She began to run to him, but as she ran, crying, a strange thing happened. By the time she reached him, she was a bird. She tried to kiss him with her bill, and by some trick of the ocean's heaving, it seemed his head reached up to hers in response. To ask, how could he have felt her kiss?
But better ask, how could the gods not have felt it, seen this, and not had compassion?
The dead body was changing, restored to life and renewed as another seabird. Together they still fly just over the water surface and mate and rear their young. And for 7 days each winter, outside it broods upon her nest, which floats upon the gentle waters. For her father, Aeolus, then keeps the winds calm and short rain. For 7 days each winter, days we call the halcyon days.
It happened that one night that Zeus, Lord of the heavens, and Hermes, his son, came down to earth to see what people were really like. They disguised themselves as 2 old beggars, stinking and poor, ragged and filthy. They knocked on 1,000 doors.
Hello? Do you have any to spare?
Get out of here! Get the hell out of here! I work hard for my money.
And 1,000 doors were slammed on.
Hello? We're tired. We live on the streets. We hope that you might...
Sorry, I'm, so sorry.
At last, they came to a little hut on the outskirts of town.
Why bother knocking here? We've knocked on houses of all kinds. The homes of people with plenty to spare. Whoever lives here obviously has nothing.
We've come all this way. Let's try it all the same.
This is hopeless. Let's just go home.
Poor strangers. Film on their guests at the door.
Hello? We are strangers to these parts. You've lost your way and...
Bosses, why are you just standing there? You must be our guests inside.
Do you know us?
Yes,
You do?
of course.
Then who are we?
Why, you are children of God, of course. Come in.
Dear world, satisfied that the disguises have not been seen through, entered the house, lowering her head to fit through the door.
No, don't sit on the floor. Sit on chairs like quality people do.
Philemon ran to get another chair.
And bosses fetched 2 pieces of cloth to pad the strangers so they may rest easy.
They stirred the coals in the earth and fanned the fire to cook them a meal.
Philemon set out embroidered cloth that is safe for feast days.
Boston saw that one of the legs of the chair was short, and she propped it up with a shard of the pot.
Philemon set out a plate of olives, both green and black ones, and a saucer of cherry plums.
And there was cabbage and roasted eggs.
For dessert, there were nuts, dates, figs, and plums.
And a basket of ripe apples.
Remember what apples smell like?
At last, with a show of modest pride, Philemon brought out a bit of honeycomb for sweetness.
Philemon poured wine from a bottle, but as he filled the glasses of the guests, he saw that the bottle was being full.
And then they knew.
Oh, mercy, mercy! You are gods, and we've served you such a simple meal. Bosses, go kill the goose.
Let it live! We are gods and we thank you. You've done enough. More than your nasty neighbors thought to do.
Suddenly, everything was changing. Their poor little house, their simple cottage, was becoming grander and grander, a marble column temple. The straw and reeds of the thatched roof metamorphosed into gold, and gates with elaborate carvings sprang out, as ground gave way to marble paving stones.
Old man, old woman, ask of us what you will. We shall grant you whatever request you make of us.
Having spent all our lives together, we ask you to allow us to die at the same moment.
I would hate to have to weep in my wife's grave, or have her weep in mine.
The gods granted their wish. Arrived at a very old age together. The two stood at what had been their modest woolwork, and now was burned as a song.
And Bohis noticed her husband was beginning to put forth leaves, and he too noticed that she was beginning to put forth leaves and bark. They were turning into trees. They held each other and called before the bark closed over their mouths.
Farewell.
Walking down the street at night, when you're all alone, you could still hear, stirring in the intermingled branches of the trees above, the ardent prayer of Bosches and Philemon. They whisper.
Let me die, sing if my love dies.
They whisper.
Let me not outlive my own capacity to love.
They whisper.
Let me die still loving and so never die.